This is pretty much what I do when someone comes into the office. We go over some what we call the pre-frames, so we understand how the subconscious mind works, how the nervous system works, and how different reflex pathways work in the body, and how that your conscious mind's really only running a little portion of what's happening the other 99.9% of your day. I've gone down some weird rabbit hole for the majority of my life studying this stuff because I wanted to be personally empowered, and I somehow developed a big root value system around real self-responsibility in the healthcare realm and natural medicine. I found myself reading books as a teenager on holistic medicine, what Native Americans did, and how you developed tinctures and how vitamins worked and how nature worked. And since our bodies are nothing but mimicking nature, we were made from the planet, we go back to the planet. But we're funny because we're the spirit running this meat suit, and we've got to figure out the neurology part of it. It's where we develop good autopilot kind of habits so that we have a good, happy life and we complete some kind of spiritual mission before this physical body turns off. So if you are into it and you want to stick around, this is my, well, not really disclaimer, but some self-empowerment info that I give all my clients, and what it's helped me so much over my lifetime and over, ins and outs of relationships and finances and, pains, life. We have stress, we have pain, we have night, we have day, we have to experience all that stuff. But we know when we're having a good time in life and we're getting along well, then we must be able to control our emotional state and make decisions that lead to more and more of that happy life, and really disintegrate some of those old reactions that keep us in that self-sabotage kind of feel where our life seems to be falling apart. It really is just wiring, guys. It's wiring that you've put in there for your lifetime. It's wiring that you've inherited from your ancestors, your parents. It's natural. It really is. So I did make this poster a few years ago because nobody really ever made a neurolinguistic programming poster. And these are the basic things that we talk about the subconscious mind with people. We'll go over some other stuff about the nervous system and around the acupuncture system and muscle function and organ function. But if we don't know this basic stuff, then we're kind of left out to dry. See, we weren't born with an owner's manual. We have some instincts. We might crawl out the womb and crawl up the belly towards the boob to get some food because we have these instincts that are built into us for longevity. Brilliant species we are. But we also have some beliefs that we come in with that are inherited. We develop beliefs over our lifetime, sometimes that we decide to believe, and early in life we don't really even decide to believe it. They're just kind of handed to us. And since our brains aren't grown enough, we're literally in a hypnotic trance the first 7 years of life anyway. So we take on beliefs that later in life we might decide we don't want to believe anymore. And a lot of this stuff turns into, like we were talking about, self-sabotage and pain and things like that. So let's go over this stuff so you understand how the model of the world works according to you. And according to everybody else has their own model of the world. And it's all wrapped up in your head there. This guy right here. If you get anything out of this, remember this stuff. We have sensory organs, right? We have our eyes, our ears, our touch, our smell, our taste. Some people say we have a sixth sense. We know that we have these sensory organs tied to our nervous system directly. We know that our subconscious picks up information, and when we can decipher it, then we have a conscious understanding, right? We're electric. Do we have a sixth sense? I'm not sure. These are all like antennas that are bringing in information in different frequencies, and we're interpreting it inside the nervous system, and then we have some kind of conscious awareness of it. So maybe we have 5 senses, and all together with good intuition, we can call it a 6th sense. But we know science-wise, we have these 5 senses. They take in the information for us. Whatever's going around in our environment, it's coming in really fast and comes through our senses. And to the tune of about 2.3 million bits per second. Now that's an old figure from an old book. There's lots of different theories out there. We have to consider what's inside of 1 bit. Is it 1 million pieces of information, 1 million actual numbers? We don't know. But 2.3 million bits per second, that's a lot of information that's coming in. It gets filtered through our subconscious mind and our nervous system, so we don't have to consciously think about all that stuff. It's instinctive. It's amazing. Well, that gets filtered, 2.3 million bits through all these main filters, and then we end up over here with an internal representation, which is that conscious snapshot of our awareness of 126 bits out of 2.3 million. That's a big difference. So who's really driving the bus? Our subconscious, okay? Filters. It has to get filtered and then deliver that little information to our conscious mind so we can make a new decision, so we can decide to respond differently or whatever we were doing in the moment. These are the major filters that all of us run on. Things get deleted. Stuff that's not that important to you, it's deleted. I bought a new car last fall, and the next morning I looked out and everybody had a Subaru. I drove a Toyota before that and didn't even realize how many Subarus were in the neighborhood because it was deleted. That was not important. I turned on a reticular activating system in my mind so that recognizes the patterns that I was focusing on anyway, which happened to be Subaru, and all of a sudden I see it everywhere. All that deleted information is no longer deleted. Things get deleted that's not important if you're not. It's literally outside of your awareness. Things get distorted. Especially at a young age, we don't have things to put into context. So a lot of times we feel certain emotions come up when we're young, and they're distorted because the only reference we had was like an example of one adult doing the action or a movie we watched. Or think about this. Memories get distorted. If you see a car accident and you're a witness to that and they take a statement that day from you witnessing the car accident, and then you're called to court to be a witness 6 months later. Well, maybe you've watched a few movies that had some car accidents in it. Maybe you thought about that car accident a few times. Maybe you almost got into a car accident yourself, and you show up to court and your memory is a little fuzzy around that original event. They have it written down what you stated that day, but you think it's a little bit different now. It's a little distorted because you're kind of merging some of these general things together in the mind, and they're getting a little twisted. The next big filter right there is our generalization. We generalize. All of us generalize. And when we generalize, we sum up everything. Okay, that looks like this. And then when we do that, we distort and we delete to make it fit our picture. This is a big one. We generalize. We end up with a confirmation bias. So everything we look at in the news is confirming what we already know. So we generalize that stuff to fit our narrative, to fit our model of the world. Isn't that interesting? You got to be careful with that one. We generalize. We jump to conclusions. And we talk about PTSD and things like that. That's really what it is. If you had a trauma happen at in the military or at a young age or whatever it was, car accident like we talked about, and years later, something similar looks like it's about to happen, you go into those same emotions because the subconscious is trying to keep you safe, and that generally looks like the same situation again. So you jump into fight or flight or go into freeze mode or whatever you do. So delete, distort, and generalize. Those are the big filters. And then as we go deeper into the mind, we have some more filters, like the time you're living in the culture today, how old you are, what time of day it is. Of course, you're going to act differently too. Your location, where you live on the planet. I live close to a military base. You can hear the sounds of freedom flying over top of us right now, these loud jets here. So where you live on the planet will make a difference. Right now I got to talk louder because there's a jet going over top. If you live somewhere that's not close to a base, then That's not even part of your model of the world. Things are affected by your location. Of course, your mood. I mean, if you're having a good day, things look bright. If you're having a bad, sad day or a mad day, things look crappy. You see the world through the lens you're wearing. That's should be common sense. Everybody knows you see things differently depending on the mood, or we call the state, the emotional state. Underneath there, we have our meta programs. That's similar to Myers-Briggs test. So doing one of those for yourself is pretty smart. You can figure out your kind of wired personality traits and the traits of other people, and maybe get flexible and learn some of those other traits. We call them meta because they kind of do overshadow these other personality traits. They're not completely hardwired, but they can be by age 30 if we don't do something about it, like with techniques like this, and try to break up the habit and learn new stuff. So meta programs. Language. The language you speak. The dialogue, the dialect. Certain languages don't even have words for certain things that other languages do. So language is going to definitely affect how you filter the world. Your memories are different than mine. They can never be the same, even if we experience the exact same event and the same time we're in the same room together. Because I have filters and you have filters, and we saw them from two different perspectives, so the memory will be distorted according to the other one, right? So memories are different for each person. Even if you had the same memory as someone else, it's still different from a different angle, different perspective. Decisions. The decisions that you made in the past will lead to beliefs. Beliefs, especially when you're an adult, you decide to believe that with the information that you were given. If you were only given a portion of the information and you made a decision and then later you got the other half of the information, well, it starts to develop that little bit of a conflict because now you have this confirmation bias. Remember, you believe that thing. And now you're presented with other information. And that's called cognitive dissonance, where you decide not to look at the other information because it might disrupt your belief. And beliefs are fine unless they're limiting. Limiting beliefs is what's holding us back. And sometimes we just don't use the right language to even find out that that is a limiting belief. And that's what's holding you back in the first place. And we can change those beliefs, but it usually starts at going back to that decision point in time where you decided to believe that thing. So decisions lead to beliefs and belief systems. What you believe is different than what I believe, and that's okay. And then our deep core beliefs, the really, really important ones, this is our values, our core values. Those are the most important ones, and they have their own ladder of hierarchy as well. Something's more important than something else, okay? That leads to really who you are. Your identity is the deepest part of the subconscious mind. It's just who you are, why you believe what you believe, why it's important, and why you do what you do, and where you live. That's what we do. The identity, all that filters that outside information, and then we end up with that internal representation. This will affect the emotional state, the physiology, of course, and dictate our behavior and our results. See, the behavior is outside output. It'd be like yelling at your computer screen because it has a crack in it, and blaming the program not running correctly on the computer screen. It's silliness, right? The behavior is the output. When we look at muscle function is the behavior output from the system. So when we stress in certain ways, certain muscles turn off, other ones will compensate and get tight. That's the behavior. Well, why is it happening? Something deep in the system is creating that behavior in the musculature. So this is the outside factor. We see behavior, we judge people on behavior, we calibrate on behavior. We want to change behavior, of course. That's the output. That's where we get our results. How do we change it? Right here. In NLP, we believe your state will determine the outcome. So how do you put yourself in the proper emotional state to get the outcome you're looking for? You can act like any emotion in the book. Some people think, I just want to be happy. Well, think of a time right now in the past when you were happy. Go back there right now, go into your body and really feel that feeling of happiness. It's so happy. Now come back to now and be happy. You can do that with any emotion. Just imagine a time when you felt the emotion. Go into your body, really feel the emotion, and come to now and feel the emotion. Well, that's great. Now, how do you go into a resourceful state? We call a resourceful state one that will give you the resources to get the outcome you're looking for. Right? Do you need to be high energy, enthusiastic, because you've got something that you want to present to somebody and get them excited about it? Do you need to be in rapport with somebody that's sad and they just need a shoulder to cry on for a moment because you're a friend, and you need to be a little bit lower energy and holding space with some compassion for them? That's a state, right? If we can control the state, we can control the outcome. How do we control the state? How do we hack ourselves out of whatever reactive emotion we're in to go into a resourceful mindset so that we can gather our thoughts and make a new decision and respond differently instead of reacting, right? This is when we start to break the pattern. This is when we start to break the pattern, really. That's your model of the world, guys. This is how we all filter the world. This is how we'll change ourselves and change the world, by cleaning up some of these filters, learning some lessons about our stuff, our own stuff, literally, and learning more about your own mind and body. So empowering, because then it's like we have an owner's manual that we can do something with it. All right, that's the model of the world. If we took this guy right here and we flipped it upside down, well, cute little poster, right? Levels of empowerment. Identities at the top. Underneath that is your core values and your belief systems. Underneath that is your skills and capabilities, and then behavior and environments on the outside. Now, the higher we go up to the top of the pyramid, the more efficient the change is. So if you really want to change your behavior, you could change on the level of behavior, change your environment and do the behavior in some other environment. You could update your skills and change the behavior. You could believe you could do the behavior. You can make it really important and really believe it and choose to do behavior, or you could just be the person that just does that behavior. You see where we're going here? If we go to an identity update, an identity shift, you're just the person that does the new thing, or if it's a habit we're trying to let go of. I had a recent smoking client that wanted to quit smoking and vaping, and we turned her into a non-vapor or a non-smoker, someone that doesn't even think about it anymore. We updated it. Buckminster Fuller said this great quote: if we want to change the world, don't fight the existing model. Update your model, which changes your model and makes the old model obsolete. Update your model of the world, and the old habit will be deleted. It's not even part of your awareness anymore because it doesn't fit your model of the world. You're not looking for that anymore. Levels of empowerment, right there. There's way more stuff on that chart we could go over when we come back and visit that in a moment. But let's look at this other stuff over here, because we also have a nervous system. And vagus nerve has gotten pretty popular out there. I was doing kinesiology for a long time and didn't realize that that's what we're doing, guys. When we talk about vagal tone is what? That's being able to go in rest or digest, calm, into some fight or flight if we need to, into shutdown and freeze mode if we need to, and back to rest and digest. Just a strong response, emotional state response. But that also means we have a strong wire. There is a literal wire, and we need nutrients that feed that myelin sheath. There's a covering on that wire. It's got to have a strong insulation so it's not touching on anything else, and get that communication to talk from the brain down to the gut and the gut back to the brain again. It's amazing because 80% of the info is actually traveling here north. It's going up. The gut is telling the brain what to do. That's right. That's your second brain. And our happy chemicals, 80-90% of it is made in the gut, travels up the vagus nerve, and then tells the brain what to do. It's pretty cool like that. So our rest and digest side over here, we need some social engagement. We are social creatures, so when we're in shutdown mode, many times we feel draining, or we feel drained, and we don't want to drain others, so we stay quiet and we're literally in the shutdown. And that's fine, but we need some social engagement. So one of the main reasons I bought this poster is just to show my clients that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Sometimes we feel depressed, and it's not a broken brain or a chemical system that's causing that. It's literally, you've put yourself in an environment, mentally or physically, where you think that this stress has to go on, or it's going on, and you're staying there and allowing it to go on. And eventually the nervous system has to shut itself down to conserve energy. Remember, longevity. This is, all mammals do this. If you're the rabbit running through the woods from the tiger, and he finally catches you, and there you are dangling in his jaws. You've seen these on National Geographic, and the rabbit just plays dead. It goes limp, goes into the freeze shutdown mode. What's the point? Just give up. But it's also a tactic. Plays dead, the tiger drops it out of its jaws and it runs off. It's instinctive. It will conserve energy and make you small and quiet when you're not hiding from that tiger, and you should be. So we go from intimacy, play, social engagement. This is all the rest and digest side, and we can naturally go into fight or flight. We can fight with some anger. We can flight with some fear if we can't handle it. But if we do that for too long, we will naturally shut down into this freeze state to conserve energy. And many times that's when the emotions start to follow suit. And we do think it's our broken brain and our thinking. And some of that's just strategies and thinking too. So what do we do to get ourselves out of that stuck state? We do all of this stuff. I mean, you're a multiple faceted being. You're structural, chemical, emotional, electrical, and spiritual. You're all of the above. So we do all of it. We need to do some stuff with the vagus nerve. We need to understand the subconscious mind, how that works, some rules of that, and work with that if we need to. And many times, just like over here, we work with lots and lots of muscles and lots of reflex systems. So we'll muscle test for the structural strength of the muscle, which relates back to organ function, which relates back to vagus function. And we strengthen the organs through strengthening the reflex systems that relate to the organs, and strengthening the emotional response that relates to the organs. Right? Because we all have emotions. That's the energy in motion. That's what gets us moving. And sometimes we need to work with that, these different reflexes, or some allergies. We need to eliminate allergies for a biochemical system. Sometimes we need some nutrients, test for different nutrients, homeopathics and herbs to strengthen the organ, either detox something or specific nutrients for the organ, or synergistic adaptogen type plants. I'm all about less is more a lot of times, but since we're not getting nutrients out of our food, then we do better a lot of times to supplement certain things because we're not getting out of our food, or using certain things to help a specific organ so it can help process either a hormone, or like we're talking about, like B vitamins for the sheath around the wiring, or a probiotic for your large intestines so you finally let that shit go. Seriously, that is not a joke. When we hold on to stuff, we become toxic from our own stuff. And emotionally, it's the same thing. And sometimes we need the nutrient to help the organ, which will help process that stuff. Plus, we function off of food. I've done a lot of work on my gut the past few years, and it has done wonders for my health. I mean, gut lining, stomach issues, intestinal issues, all of this is going to lead to foggy thinking and inflammation in the body. So the biochemical system is going to affect the structural system, and then maybe even the mental system. Imagine that, you're all connected. So that's a portion of what I'll do for a new client when they come in. Anyway, but why do I do it? Because I've been through crap, man. Everybody's been through crap. Actually, so much crap that I had to develop my own system. All of that stuff said, I did all of that and came with this behavior kinesiology. Remember, we're changing behavior, and there's a kinetic pattern behind why you're ending up in that behavior. We can dig down to multiple levels, the deepest level, and find out that root cause of why you're still in pain, or why the sabotage is still there, or why that stuck emotion feels that way. There's multiple factors, but you know what? Knowing this stuff is so empowering. I get to say this. You know, change is easy when you know how. It's like a mechanic being really efficient and having some good experience. You take your car in and say it's making this sound. He's like, oh, I've seen that before. It's just this simple thing. Well, we like to think it's just that simple thing, but the truth is that you have to do the work. You're the most influential person that you come into contact with every day. So if you leave the video with anything, like I was talking about the model of the world here, understanding that your subconscious mind's running the show, we might want to dig in there and find out the filters that need cleaning. Also, how we frame our language is so important. So next time you find yourself stressed over anything internal or external, it could be a physical pain that you might generalize and jump to a conclusion and delete other stuff. It might be an outside political event that's happening and you're quickly jumping to conclusion and judging. It might be a relationship issue and someone says something that you misinterpret, or you say something they misinterpret. Ask yourself this next time that happens. What else could this mean? You don't know everything. Neither do I. That's a beautiful thing. What else could this mean? And find yourself looking for other things that it could mean. Maybe not just in that one pigeon-holed idea that you had at the beginning. It could mean something completely different. Remember, the other person is working off their model of the world. That's why they're making their decisions, and you don't know what that looks like. Shoot, they don't know what their mind looks like. You don't even know what your mind looks like. I don't know what mine looks like until I start doing some deeper work. And I get really surprised at the info that's back in there. Ask yourself some deep questions around those subjects. And remember, always check, what else could this mean? Well, like I said, this is what I show my clients in office. We do this online as well. So if you've got any issues out there physically, mentally, electrically, chemically, or spiritually, all of the above, if you would like your behavior output to be easily changed, I'd love to work with you. We have a course. Well, that's just the intro to behavior kinesiology. We also teach big workshops in neuro-linguistic programming and master coach classes. So I'd love to see you in a class. We do some of the classes online. Or personal coaching. Breakthrough coaching. Let go of those limiting beliefs. Process that old stuff and get empowered. You have the info in you already. We just need to ask the right questions and find it so it doesn't show up in the body anymore, and you can have a strong, healthy body and a strong, healthy mind so your spirit can do its mission. That's my secret agenda with all this stuff. I've got friends my age that don't know anything about the owner's manual of their body and their mind, and I would love to teach them all because there's a better way. And holistically, this is about the most holistic way I can find to do it. It seems to really empower people and give them their life back, and give you a set of tools that you can really run your life a lot better. So, hope that helped. Just a little intro about what I do. And like I said, probably the first video that I didn't have anything scripted. I'm just going to talk from now on because I just want to be me. And I hope you liked it. Well, we'll see you on the next video. We still got some other stuff coming out about Meridian work and all this muscle function and the subconscious mind. We will see you then.